Hello, everyone. It's a real pleasure to speak with you all as part of the Economist's Innovation at Work conference. I'm Javier Soltero, Vice President and General Manager for Google Workspace, and I had the good fortune to take part in this conference in EMEA earlier this year. Like many of you, I was hoping that by the time the US conference took place, we could actually all be in person. It looked promising there for a brief moment, and then it all changed again. And if there's been a mantra for the last 18 months, it's surely that change is the one constant. In some ways, though, that's always been true for businesses, even before the disruptions and uncertainties of recent times. Every organization, no matter how big or small, has always faced the challenge of how to stay relevant and innovate in the face of constant change. It's certainly true for Google, and I imagine it's true for your organization as well. What I want to talk about today, though, is the idea of building a flexibility-first mindset to drive and enhance collaboration and innovation. And when I say flexibility, I don't mean just increasing the amount of choice for how and where people work in your organization. I mean designing flexibility into the foundation of your tools, processes, use of space, and your culture. So why is the foundation of flexibility so important? Well, because flexibility is the gateway to several higher order benefits, including resilience, agility, and innovation. Without flexibility, teams work in silos. Collaboration is blocked by digital experiences full of friction, and innovation is impeded. Instead, we have to break down silos to seamlessly connect, create, and collaborate. As more of us enter into a hybrid work model, collaboration and the tools that enable it become the bridge that connects in-office workers with their remote colleagues. We recently surveyed 300 CIOs and senior IT decision makers from all sorts of different companies and industries. Not surprisingly, most said that the importance of flexibility in their workplace tools increased during the pandemic, and that along with simplicity, it was the top benefit they were looking for. In fact, 66% of them also said that their organization wasn't as resilient as they thought during the pandemic. And 88% of those same IT leaders said that having the right productivity and collaboration tools actually improved their business agility. The business that I oversee, Google Workspace, has evolved from a suite of apps and tools that many of you would be familiar with, things like Gmail, Docs, Slides, Sheets, Google Meet, and many more, into a single integrated solution. Google itself has run on these tools for the last 15 plus years, and it's part of why we've been able to continue to innovate and adapt as we've scaled the business. During that time, we've added over 100,000 employees, made numerous important acquisitions, added dozens of offices around the world, and weathered changing market conditions, user preferences, and competitive challenges, just like any business. The one constant for us has always been our tools. They were designed with flexibility as part of their foundation. So how are flexible tools different, and why does it even matter? We've all had the experience of using inflexible technology that limits and controls the way we collaborate, like being asked to log into the same tools multiple times, or blocked from making updates to a doc because it's locked by some other user. When most of us actually worked inside of an office, these were minor annoyances. But as hybrid work begins to take hold, they're major blockers of collaboration and innovation. Inflexible tools also cost us time, money, and opportunity. According to a recent survey, 92% of employees say that their job would be easier if they could quickly access documents without having to worry about which system or repository they reside in. And 35% of workers say that they aren't able to access people or groups due to technical issues. That's really staggering when you think about it. In a large enterprise of 100,000 employees, to think that 35,000 of them are actually blocked from getting their best work done. Designing tools for flexibility begins and ends with understanding the user, a key tenet for Google Workspace. It sounds simple, but remembering that users are people first and foremost is crucial. They're family members, friends, and neighbors. They're employees, frontline workers, and executives. Some are relying on our products to build their company, their clinic, or their nonprofit organization. They want technology to make their life easier, and we take that responsibility very seriously. In fact, when we developed Google Docs, for example, we spent thousands of hours trying to understand how users wanted to work when they collaborate in online documents. Back in 2006, The idea that a whole group of people wanted to be in the same document at the same time, writing, editing, and revising, was not a given. But in all our experiments, that ability for everyone to easily jump into a shared living document turned out to be the most popular feature. And it was a far cry from the desktop era of siloed work. We didn't design Google Docs to resemble digital pieces of paper. We designed them to open up new collaboration capabilities inspired by the web. And over time, we've connected Docs to the other Google Workspace tools in very powerful new ways. Clearly, flexibility matters across a wide range of collaboration touchpoints, and it's especially important for meetings. 2 years ago, it wasn't uncommon for remote workers to join a conference call only by voice. I did that myself quite a bit. Now, as millions of people have become remote workers around the world, that's become sort of unthinkable. As hybrid work expands, the best meeting experiences will be flexible enough to bring people together and keep them engaged and contributing across all the places and ways that work happens. On video conferencing platforms, built-in AI can help make meetings more immersive, productive, and inclusive by automatically powering things like noise cancellation, adjusting for low light, and translating live captions into the language of your choice. It shouldn't matter whether you're joining a meeting from a conference room in the office or from your mobile device in an airport terminal. You should be able to fully participate from anywhere. It's amazing how far virtual meeting platforms have evolved in the past year, and at Google Workspace, we're thinking a lot about where they need to go next. A big part of that is enabling interoperability between video conferencing software and hardware platforms, so that users and organizations have greater choice and flexibility in how they come together. In order to do this, we've recently partnered with WebEx and Cisco to make this happen. And of course, flexibility should never be at the expense of safety, privacy, and security. But when I speak to customers and prospects, they often hold on to the idea that the more rigid a platform, the more secure it actually is. In fact, modern security has become more flexible over time, with the introduction of things like security through zero trust models. Google's implementation of Zero Trust is called BeyondCorp, and it builds on a decade of experience to enable secure access to application and cloud resources with integrated threat and data protections. With Zero Trust models, you shift the focus to individual users, enforcing access controls no matter where they are or the device they're using, without having to resort to outdated VPN technology. And that security extends to employees bringing their own devices to work. To further support safer ways of working in the cloud, we recently launched WorkSafer, an all-in-one package that takes customers out of the old and into the new. Empowering your organization with a flexibility-first mindset begins with the tools that the employees use every day. Let me quickly pivot and talk a little bit about the importance of a flexibility-first mindset when it comes to culture, processes, and even the use of physical and virtual spaces. These are all deeply connected. A flexible culture will show up in business processes from recruitment to onboarding to procurement. And if the culture supports flexibility as a core value, then it will also show up in how physical and virtual spaces are arranged. In fact, over the last year at Google, we've thought a lot about our culture, since so much of it for our company was previously tied to people working together in person or on our campuses. When that was no longer possible, we had to reassess what makes our culture strong and durable. No matter where and how people work, when we talk about culture, it's important to remember that it's never just one thing. A strong culture doesn't mean everyone works or thinks the same way, but it does mean that everyone feels included, that they have the tools to do their job effectively, and they feel valued for their unique contributions. Some years ago, Google did a comprehensive study on high-performing teams. There were 5 key themes that winning teams had in common: dependability, structure and clarity, meaning, impact, and psychological safety. This last theme, psychological safety, is closely tied to flexibility. When employees are allowed to take risks without fear of failure or punitive consequences, they're more likely to consider a flexible range of options for deepening their own impact. If they have caretaker responsibilities, they might work later and spend their mornings walking their kids to school or taking care of a family member. If they're fully remote or working in a far-flung time zone, they might curate a digital workspace where the team can asynchronously come together to keep their project organized and on track. Google Workspace, for example, uses spaces as a way to organize people, topics, and projects so that teams can stay on top of what's important while also supporting different work schedules and improving employee well-being. Having a culture built on a foundation of flexibility must also filter down into your processes and the use of physical and virtual space. The old approach to process was either buy an off-the-shelf product or develop one with IT and work within its limits. Lately, we're seeing a shift to a different way of thinking about everyday business processes, one in which citizen developers and savvy business users are creating flexible, custom solutions with low-code or no-code approaches, and they're designed to work on top of the tools that they're already using. Using platforms like AppSheet, it's now possible to digitize process and connect custom applications to a wide range of data sources and software without ever leaving the workplace tools you're familiar with. When you enable the people closest to the problem to then work out the right way to solve it, you end up with processes that are inherently useful and flexible. I want to shift gears and end by discussing the importance of flexible physical and virtual spaces. As I mentioned earlier, Google has always relied heavily on in-person collaboration on our campuses, and it's been a big adjustment to embrace more than a year of remote work and to prepare for a hybrid future. When it comes to the use of virtual physical spaces, our real estate and research teams have done a lot of work to ensure that our campus environments are safe, effective, and flexible by design. We're experimenting with bookable desks, open-air work environments, and modular spaces that can be quickly rearranged to meet the collaboration needs of any group of employees. Recognizing how the physical and the virtual come together in hybrid meetings, we're experimenting with a new type of meeting room we're calling Campfire that intersperses seats with large screens for remote participants to make it feel like virtual attendees have a dedicated space in the room. We're also building hybrid conscious features into Google Workspace with RSVPs that show whether you'll be joining a meeting remotely or in person, with updated calendars that show location and availability hours, and with companion mode in Google Meet that seamlessly connects people at home and in the meeting room with things like chat, QA, and polls. Collaboration equity, the ability for everyone to participate fully no matter where they are, the language they speak, their experience level, or the device they're using, is something we think a lot about at Google. Building for maximum flexibility also means building for maximum participation. So we've talked a lot about flexibility as a foundation in your tools, processes, spaces, and culture, and how it leads to increased levels of collaboration, agility, and resilience. When flexibility is a core part of how your organization is built, hybrid work doesn't represent the next great disruption. It represents yet another bend in the road and a huge opportunity. When your business tools can be used from anywhere, on any device, when your processes naturally evolve with your users, and when your spaces and culture embrace change, then your organization is well positioned for an uncertain future. Core flexibility doesn't guarantee innovation, but it gives individuals, teams, and ultimately entire organizations a world of possibility, enabling them to bring game-changing ideas to life. Thank you very much.